This is Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives with your host, the real Theo Harvey, and Mr. Benja, covering all the relevant info about the week in pop culture. So, Mr. Benja, what are we covering today?
Covering today, as always, five awesome stories. And here we go. So, for our first story, DC properties are being underused. At least that's what Zaslav says. And he's one of the business guys over there making everything happen in the DC world and the Harry Potter world, the Warner Brothers world, the Discovery Media world, all those worlds. And he says, hey, it's being underused. And this has got people in a tizzy. We'll talk about that. Also, there's Disney drama going on between the two Bobs. I don't know if you know about the two Bobs, but there's Bob Chapek and Bob Iger, both former CEOs. Hey, I'm gonna name myself Bob and walk up in there and get a piece of that because they talking noise and they need to go. Both of them. All right. And we also have the new king of the Guru Beast, Alex Hormozi. Is he the guy on top? Well, he's got some interesting stuff going on, and we got to talk about it. And in fact, we have some personal experience to talk about with this. So, want to catch that one. Also, we have Byron Allen coming in the spot. Speaking of the Bobs in Disney, Byron Allen is coming in. He wants to take a little chunk of the action from them. Buying ABC, maybe. There's some money moves being made, and Byron Allen's back in the mix. And finally, we're going to have our long awaited One Piece spoiler review. All these other stories don't really matter. One Piece live action's here. We're going to talk about it, spoiler review. Theo's going to get up to speed. I've been on this One Piece thing for far too long, but that's going to be a good one. So make sure you stay in for that. And Theo, how are you doing aside from these awesome stories?
I'm so super excited, man. So, look, I like to start off with a story, Mr. Benja. Man, have you ever had these weekends where you trying to do work, you trying to get stuff done, and it's one family thing after another? If it wasn't my nieces moving, it was dealing with my brothers and sisters and I planning for our futures with the family, what we're gonna do for Thanksgiving, what we're gonna do for Christmas. Me and my wife planning what we're gonna do for Christmas, my mother's birthday, I have my anniversary, which this is all great. Love family, great,
Love it. Love it.
but love it. It's a lot. When you're juggling all these different things at the same time, man. And so ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. You don't know where that's from. But anyway, so it's just a lot of stuff that you're juggling, man. Just trying to figure all that out. And that's one of those things that I'm still trying to manage. Not every weekend's like that, but it was just a lot. I realized that today where I'm like, why am I so drained? It was because it just deal with the emotional turmoil. We talked about this on our podcast, right? About how your family knows how to push your buttons to get you to do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my family, I just don't like mess and I don't like stuff lingering. So when I see mess on the floor, I'm going to pick it up and throw in the trash. Right. And then I just got to get it done because
Yeah.
that's what happened today. It was like I got up early, focused on my business. Then mess came in my lap. I had to go get the shovel, scoop it up. Took me about 2 hours out of my day. But I said, okay, everybody, I'm done. Now leave me alone. I threw it away. So yes, man, it was one of those weekends. But yeah, man, Mr. Benja, I know we talked about this, how I deal with some of that family pressure. One of the gurus we'll talk about later, he has a very interesting concept about the two of family and their obligations on you. But yeah, that's the main thing, Mr. Benja. I mean, and I got some interesting TV show reviews, recommendations. I talked about both these TV shows before, but one is Foundation. I think I talked about that. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. No,
Asimov.
we talked about Foundation and I talked about
Yeah.
how it started in and stopped out.
Fell off. Yeah, it's out there, man, but I'm digging it, man. They just finished the second season. Totally different from the books, but to be fair, the books are not very in depth when it comes to character or even or like environment, right? Background is very plot heavy, but they're influential because it's just for those that don't know, Foundation was written by basically a titan of the sci-fi industry. You talk about Ray Bradbury as the guy Asimov is just like right there. He wrote a series called Foundations about the future of the human race, tens of thousands of years from now, their galactic empire. And this one guy comes up with this new science called psychohistory that is going to predict the downfall of the human race unless they do this one thing, build a foundation so that the human race is thrown into eternal darkness. And so it's just, and then of course shenanigans ensue, right? For the next 1,000 years,
Yeah.
right? And so it's very ambitious sci-fi, very heady stuff. And they're trying to pull off all this in a TV show.
That's interesting because, yeah, it's a TV show, but I didn't think about it in the context of AI when I started watching Foundation. Now with this whole AI speak going around, it's, well, wait a minute. Could a government run an AI simulation on all of the census data and the government tracking data that they've had for all these decades and just say, "You know what? We should do this." So,
Mhm, mhm. Psychohistory was basically when I heard about data scientists, that was the first thing in the back of my mind. Data scientists' ability, especially Facebook data scientists, do predictions, right? And figuring out what people are going to like and maneuvering your behaviors. And that's basically what psychohistory is. They're kind of using some grandiose language around mathematics, right? But it's really statistics that we use now that data scientists are using to kind of influence our behaviors on Facebook. So I agree, man. It's so anyway, it's very heady stuff. Interesting show. So if you get back into, I know you were a C fan. You were, what, what, two people? You and Jason Momoa's mom? Yeah, watch Steve.
hey, man.
So,
Yeah, I had my Apple TV subscription, I watched it, then I was like, "Alright," and something came up, I totally forgot what it was, but I needed to drop a subscription service because if I get too many, I start feeling the need to watch them all, and I was like, "Alright, let me cut off Apple TV and go over here." Yeah, I think that's when I jumped over to Max for a bit, and I just never came back, so I'll get back to.
yeah, I think they did the season three. Apple TV, I don't think they canceled this shows, man. They have a season four of a show I've been talking about called For All Mankind. It's about
Yeah,
basically what happens if we lost the space race to Mars against Russia and how that changed our society into more of a spacefaring one, which is I don't know if the acronym for All Mankind is FAMU. But for All Mankind Universe, FAMU.
yeah.
But so anyway, that's for those that don't know, Mr. Benja and I went to Florida A&M Mechanical University in Tallahassee, the highest of Seven Hills. But anyway, I
Oh, there we go.
digress. Yeah. So anyway, so that's a great show. So go check it out. And then the other one I want to kind of give a recommendation for, I just finished the second season, was Heels. I talked about this show. It's basically a behind the scenes of wrestling in a small town in Georgia. Great show, man, because the writing is just phenomenal. It's one of those shows where, they also, if you like wrestling too, they give you behind the scenes. They use all the lingo, right? Face, heels, and some of the
Shoots and
things
all
like
that.
that. Shoots, yeah, shoots, the book. So they give you the behind the scenes of like how they set everything up. It's like fascinating because then they actually do the wrestling match. And sometimes you don't know how it's all gonna play out. And so they sprinkle in, just like probably in real life, some real drama that's happening on the show into the play that is the wrestling. And so they did that for the second season. They really used some interesting things and to kind of heighten the drama. So it was pretty fascinating show. And the writers is phenomenal, man. They the guys that write for it. So I can't, if you like wrestling, if you like good writing, you like small town stories, definitely. This is a show. Yeah, I definitely recommend, and that's on Stars, which I don't think you have, Mr. Benjamin. Not too many people have Stars. I'm telling you, man, these shows, man, there's some good shows out here. I don't know who's watching them, man. I'm like, this is crazy, man. There are some great shows, and it's like hard to have conversations with people anymore because it's so niche now. It's not like it's on NBC, right?
Right,
Or
right.
HBO Max. It's like they're just niche shows. And I'm struggling to find, I'm like, okay, where'd I go find the heels fans? It's like I talk to
Yeah.
them. But anyway,
Well,
so those are two recommendations.
we had the same problem with that in video games. For a while, there were just these hits that were coming out and, "Hey, you haven't played Gunstar Heroes? You haven't played this and that?" And I got too many games to play, and
Yeah.
there was a whole phenomenon about having a bookshelf full of games that you haven't played. That was like a phenomenon. People would take pictures and be like, "Yeah, here's an unwrapped copy of Persona I haven't played," and people are like, "Persona, what is that?" And you look and the ratings are they're all off the charts high. It's, wow, okay.
Mhm. Is that still happening to a great extent? A lot of games just sitting there? Or is it because it's all downloadable now? People just whatever. They don't
Well,
have to take
well, you've had a big split. So what's happened is there are like the AAA huge games, Grand Theft Auto, maybe throw in your Assassin's Creed, your God of War, and pretty much everybody will go play the hits. Like with movies, everybody goes to see the hits. But then there's a gang of these indie that just pop up and people can get on Steam or download them or whatever, play them really quickly, maybe not finish the whole thing, but they're usually shortened experiences where it's, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I get it. Boom, I'm done." And it's not like you're spending 40 hours per game, you're spending 4 to 10, but it's a smaller
Mhm.
experience and people are okay with putting down $25 knowing they're getting a smaller experience.
Oh, okay. So it's not like back in the day where all the games are like a big investment. And so you would say, I'm going to play this game. And people say, oh, yeah, I heard this is a good game. And you just put it on your shelf and forget about it. So I'll get to it later. Whereas now, here's play this one and it's only
Yeah,
$25. It's okay. Check it.
if you like it, run DLC or they usually allow you to finish it quickly, but then if you wanna go do all the side quests, that'll take you another 10 hours or
Gotcha.
something like that. But they totally understand the vibe now, but, yeah, as far as shows, yeah, if you have a and maybe this is happening a bit in Hollywood too with the shorter seasons, like, they used to do the old
Good
TV
point.
format, which was 22
Yeah,
episodes
good point.
or 12 episodes, whatever. Now it's like, let me get 8 episodes at 30 minutes each. Let me get 6 episodes at 50 minutes each, maybe. So, maybe it's the
Good
same
point.
thing or similar.
Good point. Yeah. Wow. You're right.
Real quickly, though, you reminded me with the family and all the stuff going on with them. Man, yeah, I was it just reminded me of hanging out with my aunts, and a dog fight broke out, and I'm the only dude there, right?
Mhm.
Some food fell under a table, and the dog started fighting over it. I'm the only dude, so I dove under the table. I'm trying to grab dogs that are fighting. I picked one up and it was bleeding. I threw it outside. I didn't throw it, but I, like, got it out of the way while the
Gotcha.
other dog was trying to yip at me and the other dog. So, I had blood on my hands, and then I came out into the hallway, and kids saw my hands all bloody because of the other dog, and they were like, "My that's not my blood," and they didn't care. "Ah!" And then, yeah, you just look back and it's like, "How did I get wrapped up in all this?" Um,
It's family.
yeah,
Wah, wah, wah. It was like a sitcom, from the 90s, man. It's just, yeah, you just get caught up. So, what? You love your family.
but that's how that got me to keeping my sanity by and I'm wrapping these 2 together, keeping my sanity by playing video games again. I had kind of fallen off for the most part, but I was sitting around and I was like, "Gosh, how can I get my headspace right? I'm meditating, I'm exercising, I'm getting there, but I've really cut back on caffeine, sugar, any stimulants, and it's good. I'm feeling all zen, but sometimes it takes a toll and I'm like, I need something. And video games, I had to start up there's a retro gaming service I had to go download. And it's got all the arcade shooters and the simple twitch where something shows up on the screen, you shoot it, and it's really fast paced. Yeah, man, 10 minutes to that, and I'm like, "Ooh, I've been shooting aliens, I've been busting caps. This is great." Get my energy back, it's great.
Love it, man. Love it. So, man, I love, yeah, dude, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. Not to partake of the stimulus, but man, that coffee hit at 5 in the morning, that's the best. That's up a day, man. So
That
I love
that
it.
that took
So,
that took years for me, and it was because of it just hit me wrong, so it took years for me to get away from that, by the way.
well, and I'm proud of myself that I don't put a lot of sugar in. I just go straight black. And I may put like one Truvia in there or something like that. And that's it. So yeah. So I'm like, I'm getting better. I used to put a lot of cream and all that crap in there. So I'm starting to stop that.
That's
So yeah. But then I do go for like heavy on the coffee sometimes. It's a 2, maybe 3 cup a day kind of thing. But that morning session, man, I get 3 good hours, man, to myself. It is so I'm working on it.
I don't knock it at all, so if you wanna stick with it, stick with it. I personally have a sensitivity to it. I'm a little punk when it comes to coffee. I get all I just it fucks me up, man. I can't do it. I'm a chump.
I love it.
Speaking of which, chumps. Story number 1. DC properties are being underused. Is this true? Is this factual? What's going on? Well, there was a story that went around. Basically, the head guy, Zaslav from Warner Brothers Discovery, the CEO Zaslav said that he believes that the properties DC, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings are all being underused by the company. This came as a shock to a lot of people because they've still been releasing a gang of properties, and the you go on Twitter, Facebook, or wherever they're talking about this, and people are like, "Well, you just released all these movies and you released all this stuff, and you're still talking about you're not being underused. Yeah, you're just milking the properties. That's all you're doing. You're milking." And I think he's got a I think people are getting it a little bit twisted, but I don't know. Have you heard this story, Theo?
Yeah, I've been kind of making the rounds. I get it. Where he's kind of coming from a business standpoint. So you remember we talked about Runner's Brothers Discovery, kind of an earnings report not too long ago on their
Mhm.
quarterly report. And so they're getting closer to being in the black. And obviously because a lot of the high executives are being compensated to go for what they call EBITDA, which is a fancy way of saying profit. So they're looking at
Yeah.
profitability. So cutting things left and right. There's huge opportunities in these IP offerings, right? DC is one of them. So many different characters, movies, TV shows, ideas that this is not utilizing effectively, right? And so basically, so you have a product that's just sitting there and you could do more for you. Why are we not leveraging this more, right? To get more meat off the bones, if you will, right? So I get where he's coming from is, hey, we already own this, right? We don't have to develop anything else new. We just need to just put it out there. So I think that's kind of what he's getting at. But obviously people are taking the wrong way because it's coming from this guy who's cutting things left and right, canceling Batgirl movies. So he's just a bad guy in a lot of entertainment eyes. So when he says things like that, it's like, dude, what are you talking about, man? You just cut my job.
Yeah.
What are you discussing?
Exactly. And here's one of the comments we got from our friend Andy, and Andy's totally right here because the way this headline went out just made it sounds like he wants to milk the properties, which he does. But let me just read his comment right here. I hope he doesn't mind. He says, in the last year, they released Black Adam, Shazam sequel, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and then they pulled Batgirl. They also had animated projects for League of Super Pets, 10 animated features that went direct to video, as well as series like Harley Quinn and a new Superman series. They also still have a Superman series on CW, wrapped up the Arrowverse, and there are 3 Fantastic Beasts Wizarding World movies since 2016. And the Lord of the Rings prequel was sold off to Amazon and that premiered. So so Zaslav thinks that's not enough? Come on. I mean, when you look at it like that, you're like, "Well, yeah."
Yeah, but if you're looking at assets that can produce, when the gurus I listen to say assets produce income, right? So how much of that can you milk for additional income, aka also known as revenue? So I agree, there's stuff there, but the movie segment has not gone well, right? All those movies you mentioned did not do, relatively speaking, right, to what the expectations were. Black Adam, Shazam, and the Blue Beetle. So I think those are the things that they're looking at. Then they got Aquaman coming out, right? So they released a trailer for it this past week, I think. So it's gonna be interesting to see what's going to happen with DC. James Gunn, not to put too much of a
Uh-oh.
point on this, but he's definitely under the gun for what he's going to do with these new movies coming out.
The gun.
He's under the gun.
Yeah,
So
so
this Superman movie needs to be phenomenal.
so you know what? As much of a product guy and creation guy as I am, that's totally true. I think these properties have fallen short. But I also think that the marketing, sales, branding side haven't been doing their jobs at all. You're talking about milking this and underused properties. Look, we're just now getting an Aquaman trailer. We haven't heard of this thing for a while. The last time we saw him was sitting in sewer water in The Flash. And we're like, what the hell's going on with this dude? And now it's all of a sudden the trailer came out. In fact, trailer came out, no hype. I didn't even watch it. It's still sitting there on my watch this now list. And I'm so, I don't want to say upset with how they're rolling this stuff out. I'm just like, come on, man, give me hype for the experience. Talk to me. Put some merch on the shelf. So when I go to the store, I'm like, hey, I want that bat jacket. Hey, I like that. I want my Flash lightning lapel cuffs or whatever. Nothing is coming out. If you go on Twitter, like I always do, just to see what the people are saying, yeah, everybody's, hey, how come we didn't get jackets of the Superman crew when they did like the Superman, all the different Supermen and
Mhm.
Superboy from the Doomsday kind of thing? Why didn't they have jackets of all those characters? They actually had jackets in the show. Didn't have jackets in real life. Blue Beetle. People say the marketing was way less than it should have been for what it was. Didn't really do a lot of Latino angled marketing. I know when you did Black Panther, it didn't matter if that was good or not. All the bruh showed up.
Yeah, man. Of us had the Wakanda Forever salute in front of the poster, man. So
Yes.
it's yeah, they just I don't know, man. It's like seeing you're right. I think the marketing is like falling down. It's like they're gun shy, man. It's like you market, you can't be scared when you market, man. Might as well not market at all. It's almost to that point. It's look, these releases stuff, don't even say nothing. Oh, they did a surprise DC movie on us on a Friday night. Oh wow, let's go check it out. You save so much more money than but you gotta go all in, man. You just gotta don't be scared.
Marketers like to market when they have something to market. If you just let them do their thing and, hey, listen, we got this cool stuff, we got this happening. What can we do with this? Back in the video game company, I used to love hanging out with the marketing department because they're like, oh man, this will be great. We can do t-shirts, we can do posters, and listen, check this out. We got this new holographic poster that my friend makes. And it's like they get so excited about the marketing nonsense they do. Yes, I called it that. They get so excited about it that I get excited for them. I'm like, wow, that is really cool. That nonsense is really exciting, man. And just I just wonder what they're feeling over there. But just another sign of the times with DC where they are right now.
I think we need to do a pod on how we would save the DCU. We're gonna have play two pods, man. How we're gonna save the DCU and how we're gonna save the MCU.
Yes,
Coming soon.
because hero movies, dead or alive. That's what it's all about. Story number 2, Disney drama. Yeah, this is gonna be yours to handle pretty much, but, there's some drama going on in the Disney house, and 2 Bobs are arguing, and the succession planning didn't go well, and we're not even talking about the HBO drama Succession, but it's a similar vibe, right?
Oh man. Absolutely. Yeah, so we've been kind of documenting this since almost since we started the podcast, right? About Disney, such a big mover in the entertainment business, especially in genre filmmaking with Marvel and what it does with Pixar and other things. So Bob Iger retiring was big news, right? And so during, I think Bob Chapek had took it over when we started our podcast and man, that dude had one issue after another and was basically fired literally a couple months ago. Right back Iger into this whole or began around springtime and brought by Iger into this whole brought him back again to Disney. That
Really quick, is that rare to have a CEO and then, "Hey, here's the successor," and then successor comes in, does his thing, and they're like, "We made a mistake, get the hell out of here. Hey, old guy, come back, please."
very rare, man. Because think about it, all the stuff that goes into that, right? Old guy is not the same as the new guy. The new guy's not the same as the old guy. He's got to bring his people in. He's got to get a direction. He's trying to put strategy together. A lot of strategies, they take a while to kind of develop to see if it's going to be correct. And yeah, that and the sad part is, let's be honest, Iger had pretty much an iron fist hold on Disney, right? He was there so long when he took over from Michael Eisner, who was the previous CEO, that he had time to kind of basically remake the board. So basically, the board was people that knew him. He kind of so basically, CEO reports to the board, right? Technically, of a public traded company. So the board is supposed to kind of put check on the CEO. That wasn't happening by Bob Iger, right? He basically ran Disney like how he wanted to because he approved himself, right, with the Pixar acquisition and stuff with Marvel. So he was like, so you knew you knew when a CEO is feeling good about himself when he has time to write a book. You're
Yes.
supposed to be running this multi-billion-dollar corporation, and you write a book. You call the book "The Ride of a Lifetime." So he was having fun, man. And promoting the book on his TV station because they own ABC. So he was
Yeah,
on Good
yeah.
Day, Good Morning America. So anyway, the Bob Iger went out as a champion hero. So the big thing he had to do was just find someone to succeed him because he had talked about retiring at least four of the times before. He had multiple successors that he eventually kicked out. But the goal was that when he brought in Bob Chapek, who came from the parks, that he was going to be kind of like almost like a yes man, kind of run operation, all the stuff he did, Bob Iger did want to do, right? Spreadsheet stuff, all that stuff. And Bob Iger was going to run fun stuff, creative stuff, hanging with the actors. So when he retired, he thought that was going to be the play with Bob Chapek. But needless to say, that did not play out that way at all. And so if you read this article, CNBC did a great scathing article about this. It was almost 11,000 words, but it was very interesting how this all broke down. So a couple of things came out here. Mr. Benja, have you heard of 2 shower days?
That one stuck out to me. I was going through the articles like 2 shower days. What's this about? And it's fascinating. I hadn't heard about it until now. This is awesome though. What's a good this 2 shower day?
Bob Iger was so on his point, his office, he did not want to give up his office even after he retired because his office had a shower. And for him, he likes to go work out in the morning. This is the life of Riley. He likes to go work out in the morning, take a shower, spend his day running Disney. And a lot of times he would have to go to after parties and go to movie premieres. But he wanted to shower again at the end of the day. So he can put on his tux and go out into the night. And so he did not want to give up the office because that was the place, even though he's retired, mind you. So Bob Chapek was sitting basically in the corner. The CEO couldn't get access to the CEO office. That just shows you Iger picked the successor, but was he really gone? So that was one thing. And then the other thing I thought was kind of interesting was like literally it was like in the first month when they were supposed to go to an event, it was an incident on the plane where basically Chapek was going Bob Iger and Bob Iger, the old CEO said, "Hey, Chapek, why don't you present the CEO stuff for this event?" So Chapek was like, "Sure, okay, I'll do it." So they talked for a little bit and then Chapek took his little notes and went to the back of the plane. And then Iger was like, "Well, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. Do you want to spend some more time talking to me?" Chapek said, "No, I'm good, son. I'm just gonna read my notes. I'm good." So, and that kind of kicked Iger off a little bit. That's because obviously they got different styles, right? Iger's more
Yeah.
talkative guy, kind of like me. I like to talk to people. Do I just come out? But Chapek was more like, "Hey, give me a book. I'll read it and I'll sustain the knowledge." So that was like the beginning of the rift. So just basic stuff that common knowledge that people have about how people learn, how people interact with each other, you start to see this fracture. And then because of that, then you had this back and forth between them over the next 2 years, where slowly Iger was kind of eventually moving on, and Chapek started to take more and more control over Disney. And from the sidelines, Iger was basically calling crap, putting stuff out there. I wouldn't have handled this way. I would handle this way. And it was just like, wow, how can the new guy really effectively run a company when the old guy was just bad mouthing you so much? And what made it worse, the old guy selected you to run that company. So it was, so we kind of chronicled this throughout the thing,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
was just hilarious how this all went down. And then it got so bad, Mr. Benja. So there was a lot of faux pas even on Chapek's side. I think he was definitely a little insecure about a lot of things. But the "Don't Say Gay" thing, I don't know if you remember that kind of flared up where
Don't
Disney
say it.
was
Yeah.
attacked. Yep, they were attacked from the right because they were going for the thing. And then when Chapek didn't say anything fast enough, the employees turned on him. They said, "Well, Disney, what are you supposed to do?" So
Yeah.
he couldn't win that one.
I
And
I
then they
I
would
I like this one right here from the article. Chafix they got Chafik because of his business and acumen and his integrity, not because of his interest in Hollywood and all that. Someone said Chapek has the outward corporate demeanor of a Midwestern businessman, or as one colleague jokingly put it, a tuna salad sandwich who sits in front of spreadsheets. What kind of snap is that on somebody? That is funny as heck. When that kind of stuff is going around from like colleagues, oh, that's common.
It just gets worse and worse from here, man. One of the highest ranking black executives at the time, Kareem Daniel, he was basically Chapek's right hand man. Chapek put him in charge of this new division. They had to kind of figure out like what stuff will go to streaming, which will go to theaters and all that stuff. And so Chapek took all that control out of the creatives and gave it to Kareem, who was basically a new guy, right? These executives and these actors and stuff. So now they had to go to this one guy, and Kareem was not part of that world at all. So he didn't know how to kind of deal with them. And so that kind of ruffled a lot of feathers at Disney of how Chapek was running that. And of course, Bob Iger from the sidelines was criticizing that. So it just became worse and worse, man, until when it kind of blew over was not too long after he was renewed in his contract, Bob Chapek, where they had to give out the quarterly numbers. And the CFO at the time, McCarthy, she mentioned to Chapek that the numbers were getting bad. They go, they're worse than we thought. And it was like that quarter when they were gonna not make their projections. Yeah. What saved Chapek for a while, I don't know if you remember, the stock started going up and up because everybody was praising Disney Plus when it kind of launched. Remember we talked about this. They had over 100 million users pretty quickly. And so Chapek was riding high. So how the strategy is working out. But then the numbers are showing that it was costly and they were going to lose way more money than they projected. Now, some would say he was blindsided. Some would say that he was told this in private. But McCarthy basically in front of all the board members said, hey, this is a dire situation and we need to do something fast. And Chapek didn't respond to it. And he basically was talking about the Disney spooky Halloween party at the Disney parks. And I think there was a tour of Disney, and during when executives got together, he was out petting a hippopotamus during the tour instead of sitting down figuring out what was wrong with the numbers.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it seemed like there was some shenanigans going on where people were kind of hiding information from him, and he wasn't fully aware of the depth of situations, and then he didn't feel like he could trust a lot of these people because Bob Iger had put the CFO was basically handpicked by Iger years ago. And so anyway, it was one of those things. And then finally, he lost the trust of the board of his lieutenants, the guy who was over parks, Dana Walden's over all the entertainment. They basically all gagged up and just kind of went to the board and said, this guy, we have no confidence in Chapek. And he was basically fired. And at the same time, they were conspiring with Iger to get him to come back. So the article is fascinating on just like how these succession things kind of hand out and how they turn out over time. And it shows you, man, this is just high school 101, man. They're doing some petty ish for
Dude,
something that's dealing with a multi-billion dollar corporation.
dude, if someone came up, what's going on with this business? Where are these numbers at? We need to know X, Y, and Z. Well, your friend Bob is over there feeding the hippos. It's just, that's my funny takeaway. That's all I got on this
Yeah.
one.
So anyway, so like I said, the takeaway from this is just showing you how these things got to evolve and how our team is really shaped by personalities because now that Bob Iger is back, now he's dealing with a host of problems. And we talked about this ad nauseum, stock is down. They're facing pressure from cable. We had that big strike with Comcast, and basically cable was like, we're not paying these carrier fees no more, damn it. We're not gonna pay you extra billions of dollars for ESPN anymore. You gotta stop all that. Then they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do with Hulu, which is gonna cost billions of dollars. They're losing money because the streaming is getting costly. So it's a we talked about the parks are not making as much money anymore. So yeah, so now Bob Iger's in the mix. I think man, why not come back?
Yeah. Well, I have a suggestion for a quick $10 billion for Disney. Story number 3. The editors are going to give me for that one. Byron Allen buying a chunk of Disney. This is an interesting one. I don't know how interesting it is because Byron Allen's name always shows up every so often, and he's just making some move somewhere that nobody expected. But yeah, Byron Allen's apparently interested in buying a chunk of Disney and has reportedly presented a $10 billion proposal to the Walt Disney Company for the purchase of its ABC TV network, including local stations, FX, and National Geographic cable channels. Now we got some spice in the mix, huh?
Yeah, man. Look at your boy Byron Allen, man. I think he was part of that the team that wanted to go after BET as well. And
Mhm.
so he owns the Weather Channel, so he's got a little clout there. But yeah, Byron Allen presented, like you said, $10 billion proposal. He's trying to get more power. And reason why ABC, because I don't know if you remember Iger not too long ago, said that everything's on the table, right? And so he talked about maybe spin off ESPN. Now, ABC is definitely interesting because Bob Iger actually started off at ABC. He was a weatherman and he worked his way up ABC and he became head of ABC before he got bought out by Disney. So that's if he sells off ABC, that's going to be very interesting. But everything's on the table now. So I don't know, man. I think Byron Allen has a shot.
Yeah, this is always, but it's always interesting to watch these moves play out, and then not just the actual sale or the non-sale itself, but once you see the sale information start coming out, you see people start to pick sides and play roles, and it's just a whole little drama with like it reminds me of poker always. I'm putting my money up, say, "Oh, they put their money up. What cards is he holding? What's he trying to pull? Who's he talking to? What deal is going on?" There's always some play, never just a straight up move. It's always some play. So I love this stuff. I don't know how much we need to talk about this. Just thought it was really interesting. And yeah, man, shout out to Byron Allen for doing the thing.
Making moves. I love it.
All right. Anything more on that one? Because that's short. I like it short, but all right,
Nah, man. I
let's
mean,
go.
he's in the mix, man. I don't know if you remember, he also did a lawsuit against, I forgot who it was against, but yeah, he was doing lawsuits. So yeah, Byron Henderson staying in the picture, man. He's becoming almost a defiant kind of multi-millionaire, 100 millionaire. And so on his way to be a billionaire. So we'll hear more from him soon, I'm sure. If this does, even if this doesn't go through.
Yeah, we should have a Byron Allen watch.
Alan Watts.
Story number 4. Is Alex Hormozi the king of the Guru Hill? This is the interesting question because this guy came out of nowhere, just talking to people, showing up with his mustache and workout equipment, tank top wearing, not a I'm not selling you anything proposition. And suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, this dude might be the king of the Guru Hill. In fact, Theo, because you sent me a book. Look at this. I don't have any books this big on my shelf, and he just came in big. Why is this book so big? Most of them are about this big. He's got this one. What's Alex Hormozi doing here?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, okay, interesting angle. We talked about him before as one of the gurus. He came from a gym space. I never heard this guy until literally like this year, but he exploded on the scene last 2 years, really went all in on his organic marketing and exploded. And the stuff he talks about, he gives you very practical advice. If nothing else, he gives you it's simplified, like steps, like step by step stuff. So if you do listen to him, you get a sense of okay, this is how you do it. Because I've heard gurus, even Russell Brunson, Myron Golden, and other folks who came from this internet marketing world. They talk about stuff like this high level, but I've never seen someone just be like, okay, boom. Yes, this is how you need to have a premium offer, but this is how you create it. First, write a list of all the stuff you have. Then figure out how much it costs you to make that all, do that thing. And then circle the ones that have the biggest difference. He's like step by step on how you will create a premium offer. I've never seen any of these gurus do that level. And so with this latest book, we talked about his huge book launch, talking about $100 million lead. For him, it was about like how do you market yourself, like how do you advertise to get people to know what you sell. And likewise, he has a system. This is how you do cold leads. This is how you do warm leads. This is how you do paid ads. This is how you do affiliate marketing, right? And so it's like a step-by-step guide on all this. Now, I would say this, Mr. Benja,
Okay.
of the gurus, the one thing the gurus will never tell you, yes, this stuff can work, but you always got to consider the source, man. The guy, the reason why he was so successful because he understood his problem intimately and the more you think about it, I think a lot of the gurus, they kind of leave that out when you try to start something. You got to realize that sometimes the avatar, you represent the best avatar for your market.
Right.
So if you, Alex Hormozi, you look like you work out all the time, you sell in the gym space and you own gyms, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna believe what you're saying, as opposed
Yes.
to the scrawny little guy. Hey, why don't you buy this gym stuff? I got a product for you. Never in the gym, don't know what you're talking about. You're not gonna have the phenomenal success he's had. So I think the gurus need to be upfront with folks and say, whatever you choose to do, just make sure you understand. He ran 6 gyms by himself for 5 years before he fully went into the gym launch model that accelerated to the next level. And so he knew how to run a gym intimately. I think that's one of the things that these gurus forget to tell you. There has to be a core base of some knowledge of something. And so I think
Yeah.
that's the one thing I'm kind of realizing more and more. But anyways, he's good, man. Look, read the stuff. Mr. Benja, I shared it with you because I'm part of Mosey Nation, said pay it
Nope.
forward. So hopefully you can use it in good faith.
Yeah, definitely, man. No, it's a case study that's happening in real time for anybody who wants to check this stuff out. And while you were speaking, I was just looking for the web page that he created that shows he's using an old tactic I hadn't seen in a while, and I actually saw it from the Insane Clown Posse. If I know, but I was big into following the whole music business, and they set up a strategy to get their whole, they have their big event, the Rise of the Juggalos event.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, they
Sure.
have this huge event. They have these huge event carnival where all the juggalos show up. It's really successful. It happens every year. They have a series of videos and movies and all the stuff that comes out. And it's really catered to their audience, so they don't have to do too much marketing. Anyway, they had this strategy going on, and I'm looking at Alex Hormozi's site, and I'm like, "Yo, the Insane Clown Posse said they were gonna set up, like, 6 different albums, and all these albums had this big theme going on, and so even if it was a bad album, you were just waiting on the next one in the story. Well, now I'm looking at these books by Alex Hormozi, and they're all set up. "Hey, I've got these books coming out, and there's gonna be, like, 5 or 6 of them. First one is about leads, this offers, next one's about leads," and I'm like, "This guy's that's the same playbook." So, I don't know. He's insane and kind of a clown, and he's definitely building a posse, so I don't know, that just reacted in my mind.
Yeah. So, like I said, we'll keep you guys updated on where Mosey goes, but definitely recommend the book. Maybe we'll get a few better review of it after Mr. Benja checks it out. I'm applying some of his strategies now to see how they work. Yeah.
Yeah, I always trust stick figures in
What's it say later? What's it say? I have lead. That's all you have to do, guys. That's it. We just dropping knowledge right now.
graphic designer GTFOH. Story number 5, our One Piece spoiler review. Had to put it at the end because that's what people do to get you to listen to the whole thing. No, seriously, we did that because we didn't know how long it was gonna last, and we wanted to make sure we put a cap on it. So, the hit show from Netflix, live action One Piece, a live action show adapted from 1,000 plus episodes that are still running of an anime and a long running manga series that's been going on for over 20 years. And finally, they made a live action adaptation and people like it. We talked about the initial reactions before, but now we have Theo back in the mix. Theo, you've finally seen the whole thing. I don't know if you watched all of them with your kids or just some of your kids, watch it by yourself or what. Let me know what you're thinking about it and we'll get into
Yeah, man. I watched all of it with my kid, my youngest, and my daughter. Maybe a little bit more mature than what they should probably watch. A little spicy language and some cuts here and there. But overall, I loved it, man. I get what you were saying. I finally got what you're saying. Just I don't because then obviously I went down a rabbit hole. Okay. How does it compare? Because the original, or at least some of the original series is on Netflix. So I started to kind of look at some of the same storylines and how they compare and contrast. Some of it is almost verbatim, man, especially the dramatic beat. I was very surprised how some of the dramatic beat in the cartoon or the anime versus the live action, but it's not as silly, which I think is hard to do, right? But yeah, man, I think we both enjoyed it, man. And matter of fact, my son, he got so excited about it. He drew characters pictures of it.
Nice.
And Luffy all big and and Nami and Zoro all down there with the different color hair. So I think he's a fan, but this generation they like anime. That's just their thing. So yeah, high level. Yeah, I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, I definitely did too. And I think we mentioned spoiler review, but
Yeah.
spoilers here. Yeah, it was very good to me. If you go through the manga and I couldn't take the early animation of the anime and the pacing. So I read,
Oh, hilarious, man. That thing is hilarious.
yeah,
That first episode, man, when he pops out, I saw the face. He says, "Yeah, I love you." Yeah. But yes.
it's not bad. It is what it is. Goofy, silly with these hard hitting moments of emotion, which is, I think, phenomenal for the way they play it. Just how they can have something so silly and goofy, but then hit you with these hard hitting emotions like every so often. But yeah, for the most part, I kind of dabbled in the anime early on and then would jump to the manga and just read through that because the manga was a lot more hardcore, a lot more detailed, even more so than the anime. So when we talk about every one of these characters, they had their own story arcs that lasted a while. So they're cemented in
Mhm.
your mind. But like in the anime in the live action on Netflix, some of these are just characters that barely even blipped on the screen. Like when they were at the chefs at the Baratier.
Chef Jeff.
Yeah, they're at the Baratier, the floating restaurant, and there's that one character that came in hungry. You know, that one guy? That's 5 or 6 episodes of just that
Mhm.
one guy coming in the restaurant talking about he's hungry. And it's like, wow, okay, he's just 5 or 6 seconds in the live action.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Nah, man. Some of the hard hitting moments, man. Yeah, the Nami scene where she was trying to take Arlong's tattoo off of her, man. That was pretty affecting, man. And then she was trying to push Luffy away, and she said, "You don't say anything." He said, "Yeah, I know. He's just quiet." Just kind of see what she needs. Remember, everybody was like, "Leave her alone. She's trash. Don't worry about her." And she was just so much pain. And when she looked up at her, she said, "Luffy, uh, help me." I was like, "Oh, that's good."
Yeah.
She finally broke down, and just asked for help. And he said, "Of course I will." And so I was like, man, okay, I see where you get. I'm sure there's other stories like that hit as hard as that over time. Even the one with Zoro was in the bed and he said, "You're my captain and I'm your first mate." I was like, okay, I see. And then you're right. So those are the moments. But then this whole theme is about follow your dream, no matter what the naysayers say, right? Even with his at the very end, with his grandfather pushing him to his limits, and he still was true to his vision of being the king of the pirates. You know, I think that's when I was like, okay, this is just you have to follow your dream, and that's what I talk to my kids about. That's what this story is about. Is who cares about all the hokey stuff and dragon fruits, all that crap? It's really about who,
Yeah.
who's got what dragon fruit and what he's got to do at his power level is about follow your dreams no matter what the naysayers say. And so to me, and then having being loyal to your friends who support you and vice versa. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get with that. I think that's a good story.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of, aside from the unassailable optimism of Luffy, and he's kind of that almost blank slate where it's just like this goofy, "Hey, Imma do this. Imma do this, and it's gonna be my thing." I think it's such a childhood and basic dream that, or any dream that anybody has, that he represents, that everybody can kinda latch on to. And then they use everybody else in the story to have different versions of that: revenge, grandeur, family, love interest. Everybody has their kind of different angles on what pushes them towards their dream, what pushes them away from it. And it's one of those things where I didn't realize how deep it was until I was well into it and I had my first emotional hit and I was like, yo, why did that emotionally hit me that hard? And I'm wondering, from the live action, what you started thinking of, like, some of the themes and why some of the stuff is kinda goofy, or just anything you might have picked up on as a first time watcher.
Yeah, I was going to hate on it. So for the clickbait, we're going to write that on the title. Hater got reformed. But yeah, just Again, it's like different forms of those dreams. I think that's what the powerful thing is. The Chef Jeff's character, right? His dream was to go to the all blue, right? But since he
Yeah.
couldn't do it, he saw another character, Sanjay. He said, "Look, I can't do it. At least someone I know will do it." And I was like, "Wow, that's a deep concept." Or Monkey D. Garb, right? The grandfather, Luffy, his dream for his son and grandson was to be like him. But you see, that's not his dream. So he's going to put that in other characters who want to be like him, right? Kobe, right? And all that. So to
Yeah.
me, I thought, wow, there's these different layers of dreams. And then they even show the flashback when they all put their foot on the barrel. They recite the words when they were kids. And then you're right. It's just like this youthful, because we all had dreams when we were kids. Oh, let's go to space. And the world just beats it out of you, and I think that's what he's trying to kind of say. Hey,
Yeah.
don't let the world beat that crap out of you. But let's see, any of the goofy moments, it's just Luffy and himself just being so. The actor that does
That
it plays him, he plays him very well, but he's just all over the place, man, with the whole screaming all the time. It's too much sometimes.
I about spit out my coffee, and I don't even drink coffee. I about spit out my drink when he slapped your boy Kobe. He was like, "What's your dream?" "Well, I really don't have a" smack. "Spit it out. Don't do that." Oh, he just smacked him like and that's so Luffy where it's like, "Hey, even my friends get it from me if they're not following their dreams." And they let you know that off the bat. Even if you're a friend, I'll smack you down for not following your dream.
Oh yeah, or if you're trying to come against my dream, don't try to stop me.
Yes.
So Luffy, yeah, he's got that. He's rubbery, but he's got that feel about him. And even Arlong, right? Even the character as disastrous, as devious as Arlong, we basically enslaved Nami, right, for years. You understand his dream for his people to be successful,
Yeah.
right? And why he wants to do that. So yeah, man, the theme is hits you over the head over and over again, right? What was the princess name that they went the first one?
Kaya.
That Kaya. They said, "That's my parents' dream. That's not my dream." So it's just like, okay. Dreams about dreams, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems simple, but the way they structure the story, think about this. It's you've got these people, it's a whole world, right? And it's all about pirates. Pirates are supposed to steal, take. There's this whole we're just evil kind of thing. And Luffy is now I'm going to follow my dream the right way. He immediately starts off by trying to shortcut that dream with the devil fruit, which curses you. You get cursed by trying to take a shortcut. And you'll see later on, everybody who has the devil fruit, there's always something that they end up getting themselves caught in. And Luffy's like the one who says, "You know what? I'm going to take this problem or this thing of mine and still go forward regardless. I'm going to get in a one person boat and do my thing. I'm not going to subjugate other people with my devil fruit powers. I'm going to try to use it to still accomplish my dream."
Mhm.
And they don't just do this and there's no continents really. Everything is an island. So it's a nice story vehicle where you can just finish what you were doing and sail to another set of islands with a completely different set of rules and a completely different set of way of doing things. Like the Baratier, it's just like its own little set of rules and setting. And then you have
Mhm.
the Fishman Island or one of the Fishman Islands. There are many more where they had Arlong Park, and then you have Coco Island, where Coco Village, where Anami's from, simple people. So you have this way of like describing different areas of life and different areas of whatever. And when I started looking at it like that, I'm like, man, that's a great storytelling vehicle. You just want a
Yeah.
certain way.
They said you can actually track his travel, right? And on a map, the map they have of everywhere he went goes. And so like even on the when they go to the Grand Line, that fish, that's kind of spoiler for the next season, but that
Yeah,
big old fish. It is I saw somewhere someone had a big map and the fish is just the whale is just still sitting there. They're
yeah,
straight into the Grand Line. So yeah, overall, man. And then some characters just pop. He was a character right away. I was like, man, that is a cool design. You can't go around with the John B hairline, beard shape up, and the
yep.
big ass sword. Perfect.
So Theo gives it a thumbs up. I love it, man. I love it. Carry us
Man,
out.
oh, no. Well, man, dude, this has been great, Mr. Benja. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment at Show versus Business on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Want to check us out on our website? Go to Show versus Business. All right, Mr. Benja, take care.
Peace.